is there more, to your knowledge, is there more likelihood that blood thickening in a stroke will occur with EPO as opposed to traditional blood doping?
I would imagine it could occur either way, but to my knowledge, I think EPO would be more dangerous.
Okay, did you explain that to Mr. Mosley?
I don't recall.
Okay. And I'm sorry, but I just want to have this in I know it's asked and answered, I just want to have this in a format. You told Mr. Mosley that EPO was more dangerous than traditional blood doping, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You told him that EPO could possibly kill him, correct?
If you take too large of a dosage, yes.
You told him that, to your knowledge, traditional blood doping hadn't killed anyone.
I don't know that I said that.
Okay. You told him that EPO could also cause a stroke through blood thickening, correct?
I knew of a cyclist that had a stroke as a result of using EPO, and told him that.
Okay. You certainly didn't, by the way, you certainly didn't tell Mr. Mosley that, to your knowledge, someone had died from traditional blood doping, right?
No, I did not tell him that.
You also did not tell him that traditional blood doping could thicken the blood and result in a stroke, correct?
I may or may not have told him that, but it would certainly thicken the blood.
Traditional blood doping?
Yes.
But that nonetheless, EPO presented a greater danger.
Because of the response to the dosage, this is why you have to monitor.
Okay. And you told him that in the end, the result from traditional blood doping versus EPO was essentially identical in terms of result.
In terms of benefit, and if you hit the target, in terms of increasing the hematocrit, the answer would be yes.
Okay. And how would you increase the hematocrit with traditional blood doping?
It's a percentage of total whole blood volume. So if you take out a certain percentage of red blood cells, and over a period of time your system manufactures new red blood cells, so now you go back up to where the original hematocrit was, and say, for example, that could be 44%, and then you add X percent that you have extracted and you're now reinfusing, and that takes it from 44%, for example, to 52%.
So, and am I correct that notwithstanding the discussions you had with Mr. Mosley about the differences between EPO and traditional blood doping, Mr. Mosley said he would prefer to have the EPO? Yes or no?
I was not offering blood doping to Mr. Mosley.
That's not my question.
Well, say it again.
Mr. Mosley did not say, I prefer to have one versus the other. You're trying to put words in my mouth that are simply not...
Let me try it again.
Okay.
After advising Mr. Mosley that EPO was more dangerous than blood doping, although traditional blood doping would end up with the same result, Mr. Mosley informed you that he wanted to go forward with EPO.
That's correct.
Okay. And the EPO, the purpose of the use of EPO requires blood tests, correct?
Correct.
Were there any other reasons?
I'm sorry. The use of EPO requires
Blood tests.
blood test.
I'll rephrase the question. In order for you to design an EPO program for Mr. Mosley, you told him he would need a blood test, correct?
More than one blood test.
More than one blood test. Before I ask you about what you told Mr. Mosley, were there any other reasons why you wanted a blood test for Mr. Mosley? Other than the finding out the hematocrit level?
Yes, we did other types of tests.
All right, and what was the purpose of those tests?
Can we, before you even get into that, can we establish, I think there was more than one test,
Okay.
so,
But,
and a time frame on the test.
okay. The first blood test that he took, there were how many tests were taken based upon his first blood sample?
I believe there were two types of tests that were done.
One was a CBC, correct?
One was a
And what's a
CBC.
CBC?
And this is on July,
Yeah, and this is the first
A
blood test.
CBC is, the acronym stands for complete blood count, and it's typically a panel of about 10 different tests.
And what was the purpose of you asking for a CBC test to be done?
One of those tests is the hematocrit.
Are there any other purposes that you wanted this, for which you wanted the CBC test to be administered?
You do get other types of information, such as the size and the number of red blood cells, and you can tell somewhat about a person's genetic makeup and how they might respond to EPO.
Were there any reasons for the CBC test, as you understood it, other than to assist you in designing an EPO program?
That was the sole purpose.
Okay. There was a second blood test that was used with this first blood sample in July of 2003?
I believe there was, yes.
And what was that test?
For nutritional elements,
And what was the purpose of that test?
to determine whether he had depletions or deficiencies of specific minerals.
And
Specific what?
Minerals,
did you tell Mr. Mosley you wanted to test for deficiencies in minerals?
yes,
Did you tell him why you wanted to test him for that?
yes.
What did you tell him?
The bodily losses are common in athletes. Excessive bodily losses of minerals are common, and to determine
Excessive what? Yes, we got.
bodily losses of minerals are common, and to determine what an appropriate dosage of some of the elements like magnesium or zinc or iron would be appropriate for him.
And did you tell him whether or not you might propose certain remedies if you found deficiencies?
Yes,
Did any of those proposed remedies involve the use of illegal substances?
no,
Did you tell him that you would address the deficiencies with legal supplements?
yes.
Okay. You also mentioned a urine test.
I don't believe he did a urine test.
Okay. What is the purpose of a urine test?
in general, or what's...
Well, and
Can you put it in context?
Yeah, you know what? That's a very good point, and I apologize. Have you requested that other athletes to whom you provided illegal substances take urine tests?
Yes,
All right. And were those urine tests relevant to your determination as to how illegal substances should be administered to those athletes?
they're generally for the purpose of identifying if they have been using drugs in the past and if they're still detectable in their urine.
Okay. Did you ever, prior to meeting Mr. Mosley, and what's the, why would that inquiry be important to you in terms of designing a program
It
for,
wouldn't be in terms of designing a program.
why would you ask that, why would you seek that information? Or why did you seek that information with respect to certain athletes?
I guess to assist with circumvention of anti-doping testing.
Okay.